It's me, Miss Cole. It's story time again. I'm going to read to you Funnybones by Janet and Alan Alberg. On the front cover, I can see some skeletons. Ooh. This is how the story begins. On a dark, dark night, there was a dark, dark town. In the dark, dark town, there was a dark, dark street. In the dark, dark street, there was a dark, dark house. In the dark, dark house, there was a dark, dark staircase. Down the dark, dark staircase, there was a dark, dark cellar. And in the dark, dark cellar, some skeletons lived. There was a big skeleton, a little skeleton, and a dog skeleton. There they are, look. One night, the big skeleton sat up in bed. He scratched his skull. "What shall we do tonight?" he said. "Let's take the dog for a walk," said the little skeleton, "and frighten somebody." "Good idea," said the big skeleton. So the big skeleton and the little skeleton and the dog skeleton left the dark, dark cellar, climbed the dark, dark staircase and stepped out into the dark, dark street. They walked past the houses and the shops. They walked past the zoo and the police station, and they went into the park. Goodness me, what would they do in the park in the dark? The big skeleton scratched his skull. "What shall we do now?" he said. "Let's play on the swing," said the little skeleton, "and throw a stick for the dog and frighten somebody." "Good idea," said the big skeleton. So the big skeleton and the little skeleton and the dog skeleton walked round the dark, dark pond, past the dark, dark tennis courts and up to the dark, dark swings. And the little one saying, "Let's play on the swings." What would you do at the park in the dark? The big skeleton and the little skeleton played on the swings. There they are, having a great time. They threw the stick for the skeleton dog. Suddenly something happened. Have a guess, what could it be? The dog skeleton chased the stick, tripped over a park bench and bumped into a tree. Woof! And ended up as a little pile of bones. Oh my goodness. "Oh, look at that," said the big skeleton. "He's all come to pieces. What shall we do now?" "Let's put him back together," said the little skeleton. So the big skeleton and the little skeleton and the dog skeleton put the dog skeleton back together again. And they sang a song while they did it. "The toe bone's connected to the foot bone's connected to the leg bone's connected to the hip bone's connected to the backbone." Waffo? Waffo? That's a funny thing for a dog to say. Is it getting it right or wrong? Oof! Oh, what's going on there? Then they got mixed up. "Is that the toe bone?" said the little skeleton. "Oh, where does this one go?" said the big skeleton. "Woofo? Oh, woof. Oh, woof." Getting it all wrong, aren't they? When they'd finished, the big skeleton said, "That dog looks a bit funny to me." "Oh, so he does," said the little skeleton. "We've got his tail on the wrong end and his head." "Phoo," said the dog. "Phoo, phoo." At last, the dog was properly put back together again. The big skeleton and the little skeleton sang another song. These bones can bark again. They can run around the park again. They can frighten people in the dark again." The big skeleton scratched his skull. "Oh, that reminds me," he said. "We've forgotten to frighten somebody." "Let's do it on the way home," said the little skeleton. "Good idea," said the big skeleton. "Oh, I wish we had a nice little boy to frighten." "Oh, I wish we had a nice old lady to frighten." So the big skeleton and the little skeleton and the dog skeleton left the dark, dark swings. They went into the dark, dark town and they tried to frighten somebody. The trouble was, there wasn't anybody. Everybody was in bed. Even the policemen in the police station were in bed. Even the animals in the zoo. Of course the skeleton animals were awake. Squeak, 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 squeak. Snort, snort. Oink, 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 oink. Gee up, Nelly. Good evening, all. Who's a cheeky boy there? Have a cup of tea. Pretty Polly. Polly, put the kettle on, mother. Let's have a ride on the elephant, skeleton, said the little skeleton. Let's have a word with a parrot, skeleton. The big skeleton scratched his skull. Let's keep out of the way of the crocodile, skeleton, he said. Would you be scared by the crocodile, skeleton? I certainly would. Look at that. Scary teeth. When they were back in the street and when they could not find anybody to frighten, the big skeleton said, what should we do now? Oh, let's frighten each other. The little skeleton scratched his skull. Let's frighten each other, he said. That's better than nothing. Good idea, said the big skeleton. What a brain, said the dog skeleton. So after that, the big skeleton frightened the little skeleton, and the little skeleton frightened the big skeleton and the little skeleton frightened the dog skeleton, and the dog skeleton frightened them. I'm coming to get you. Gotcha. Ah, meow, woof. Ooh, oh, help. They hid round corners, they frightened each other. They climbed up the lamppost, they frightened each other. They jumped out of the dustbins and they frightened each other. The dog said, yelp, eek. All the way home. And that's how the story ends. On a dark, dark hill, there was a dark, dark town. In the dark, dark town, there was a dark, dark street. In the dark, dark street, there was a dark, dark house. In the dark, dark house, there was a dark, dark staircase. Down the dark, dark staircase, there was a dark, dark cellar. In the dark, dark cellar, some skeletons lived. And they still do. The end. I hope you like that story, children.